Russell and Antonelli may be about to lose the one part Mercedes did not want anyone talking about. Ferrari saw it. Ferrari challenged it. And now the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile may force Mercedes to strip away its serrated diffuser extension right before Austria. That sounds like a small technical change. It is not. Mercedes leads the Constructors' Championship. Antonelli leads the drivers' standings. Russell is right behind him. But if this upgrade comes off the car, the entire balance of the W16 could change at the worst possible moment. Less rear stability. Less confidence. More tire stress. More pressure from Ferrari. And after Lewis Hamilton's Barcelona victory proved Ferrari can finally hurt Mercedes on track, Maranello has now found a way to hurt them before the race even begins. This is the nightmare scenario for a championship leader. Because Russell and Antonelli are not just fighting lap time anymore. They are fighting doubt. And in Formula 1, doubt is never harmless. Doubt becomes a tenth. A tenth becomes track position. Track position becomes strategy. And strategy can decide whether Mercedes leaves Austria in control or suddenly exposed. So the real question is brutal. Did Ferrari just get a Mercedes upgrade band, or did they reveal the hidden weakness that could crack Mercedes' entire title fight? Subscribe to the channel. Mercedes did not arrive in Austria looking nervous. That is what makes this story dangerous. They arrived as the team everyone else was chasing. The team at the top of the Constructors' Championship. The team with Kimi Antonelli leading the drivers' standings, George Russell sitting right behind him, and a car that had already made the rest of the grid ask the same uncomfortable question. How do you stop the W16? For weeks, the answer looked simple. You do not stop it. You survive it. Because Mercedes had started the season with the kind of authority that makes rivals feel trapped. The car looked strong. The drivers looked confident. The championship picture looked controlled. And when a team looks that complete, every small detail on the car becomes suspicious to everyone trying to catch it. That is why Ferrari started looking closer. Not casually. Not out of curiosity. With purpose. Because Ferrari had already lived through this exact kind of pain before the season even began. During the winter checks, the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile forced Ferrari to remove a similar diffuser idea from the SF26. That matters, because once a team has been told its own concept crosses the line, it never forgets where that line was drawn. So when Ferrari later saw a serrated diffuser element on the Mercedes W16, the reaction was not just technical. It was personal. Maranello had been stopped. Mercedes had been allowed through. And in Formula 1, that kind of difference can turn a garage into a courtroom. The part at the center of the fight sits at the rear underside of the car. It is called a diffuser. And although most fans never really see it clearly, it can be one of the most important areas on the entire machine. The diffuser helps control the air leaving from underneath the car. If that air behaves properly, the car gets more grip, more stability, more confidence, more ability to attack corners without sliding or overheating the tires. Think of it like opening a door in a crowded room. If everyone tries to leave at once, there is chaos. People bump into each other, the flow breaks down, and everything slows. But if the exit is shaped properly, the crowd moves cleaner, faster, with less wasted energy. That is what a diffuser is trying to do with air. It helps the car manage flow. And in Formula 1, clean flow can become lap time. The Mercedes version was described as a serrated diffuser extension. Serrated means it had jagged, stepped, sawtooth-style edges. Those edges may sound tiny, but in aerodynamics, tiny shapes can create huge consequences. They can help the air separate and reconnect in a more useful way. They can make the rear of the car feel more stable. They can improve how the car generates downforce. And downforce is the invisible hand pressing the car into the track. That is why Russell and Antonelli care. Not because the part looks clever. Because they feel what it does. A stable rear lets Russell brake with more confidence. It lets him turn in knowing the car will not suddenly move underneath him. It lets him attack exits without treating the throttle like a loaded weapon. For Antonelli, it may matter even more. He is leading the championship in the source report, but he is also carrying the emotional weight of proving he belongs there. Every lap is not just a lap. It is evidence. Evidence that he can handle pressure. Evidence that he can lead Mercedes. Evidence that the hype is not bigger than the driver. Now imagine that, right before Austria, the part that may help the car feel planted is placed under threat. That is where pressure begins. Not loud pressure. Not panic in public. The quiet kind. The kind that starts in engineering meetings and follows the driver into the cockpit. How much rear grip do we lose? Will the balance shift? Can setup recover it? Will Ferrari be closer? Will McLaren suddenly look dangerous? Will the tires suffer over a stint? These questions do not sound dramatic from the outside. But inside Formula One, they are everything. Because a driver does not need the car to be perfect. A driver needs the car to be predictable. And if a car changes in a way the driver does not fully trust, the first thing to disappear is not speed. It is certainty. That is the word that hangs over Mercedes now. Certainty. Mercedes thought it had a legal solution. The source says the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile had considered the Mercedes version compliant because its implementation and geometry differed from Ferrari's earlier rejected version. In plain English, the ideas looked similar, but the details were not the same. That should have protected Mercedes. But Ferrari did not walk away. They adapted. They built their own legal version. They brought it to Monaco. They carried it into a major upgrade package for Barcelona. And then Lewis Hamilton won, giving Ferrari its first victory of the season and proving the SF26 could hurt Mercedes on track. That changed the emotional temperature of the entire championship. Before Barcelona, Ferrari was chasing. After Barcelona, Ferrari was attacking. And there is a massive difference. A chasing team hopes the leader makes mistakes. An attacking team tries to create them. Ferrari's next move was not only aerodynamic. It was political. Through technical questions, evidence, and correspondence with the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, Ferrari pushed the governing body toward a stricter reading of the rules around these serrated diffuser extensions. And suddenly, the Mercedes part was not just an upgrade anymore. It was a target. That is the part Russell and Antonelli cannot ignore. A rival did not simply bring a faster car. A rival found a way to challenge the shape of their car before the race weekend fully unfolded. That creates a different kind of fear. Because on track, you know the fight. You brake later. You defend. You attack. You manage tires. You hit your marks. But when the fight moves into the rulebook, the driver loses control. Russell cannot outbrake a technical directive. Antonelli cannot defend against a clarification. The engineers cannot ask the stopwatch to give back a part that the regulator no longer wants to see. And that is why Austria is suddenly more than a race. It is a test of how much Mercedes' dominance depended on one hidden edge. The Red Bull Ring makes that question even sharper. Austria does not give teams endless room to hide. The lap is short. The corners arrive quickly. The braking zones are heavy. The exits matter. The curbs can punish hesitation. And because the lap is compact, every tenth feels amplified. If Mercedes loses a little rear stability, it may show immediately. If Russell has to protect the rear tires more, Ferrari will notice. If Antonelli cannot attack the curbs with the same confidence, McLaren will notice. If the car looks less planted, the entire paddock will notice. That is what makes this so dangerous for Mercedes. The team does not need to collapse for the story to explode. They only need to look slightly less certain. Because when a dominant car looks slightly weaker, rivals do not wait for confirmation. They attack. Ferrari has already shown the blueprint. First, they were forced to remove a similar concept in winter. Then they spotted Mercedes' version. Then they asked why it was legal. Then they built their own version. Then they won in Barcelona. Then they pushed again. That is not random. That is a team learning how to turn frustration into pressure. And now Russell and Antonelli are standing directly in the blast zone. Russell has to act like nothing has changed. That is part of his job. He has to project confidence. He has to show leadership. He has to make the garage feel like Mercedes is still in control, even if the development plan has just been disrupted. But behind the calm, he knows the truth. If the diffuser was helping the rear of the car, losing it could change the way he attacks the entire lap. And Russell's style depends on trust. He is precise. He is sharp. He needs the car to respond when he commits. If the rear starts moving more than expected, he may still be fast, but the margin shrinks. Antonelli faces a different test. He is not just trying to be fast. He is trying to stay ahead. The pressure on a championship leader is strange, because every threat feels personal. When a rival gains, people ask if you are cracking. When the car changes, people ask if you can adapt. When your teammate looks stronger, people ask if the title fight is shifting. Antonelli may have the points lead, but Austria could force him into a new kind of exam. Can he stay calm when the car is no longer exactly what Mercedes planned? Can he protect the lead when Ferrari is attacking through both performance and politics? Can he drive with authority when the hidden detail under the car has become the loudest story in the paddock? That is why the word panic is useful, but only if we understand it properly. This is not panic as chaos. This is panic as compressed pressure. A driver asking too many questions with too little time. An engineering team trying to recover balance from a rule change. A championship leader suddenly forced to prove the advantage is real without the part everyone is discussing. That is the pressure Mercedes faces in Austria. And the most dangerous part is that even if the ban is delayed, the damage has already begun. Because uncertainty alone can change a weekend. If Mercedes races with the part, rivals will keep questioning it. If Mercedes removes the part, everyone will measure the loss. If enforcement moves to Silverstone, the team still knows the concept's future is damaged. There is no clean version of this story for Mercedes anymore. Ferrari made sure of that. And now, every lap Russell and Antonelli complete in Austria carries a hidden question beneath it. Is the W16 still the benchmark because the whole car is brilliant? Or was that serrated diffuser extension doing more than Mercedes wanted anyone to realize? Then Ferrari made the move that changed the entire shape of the fight. They did not just complain. They built a case. And in Formula One, that matters, because complaints are easy to dismiss. Every team complains. Every team believes another car is too clever, too flexible, too efficient, too close to the edge. But evidence is different. Evidence forces the regulator to look. And Ferrari had one thing that made its argument impossible to ignore. History. They had already been forced to remove a similar diffuser idea from their own car before the season began. The Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile had already looked at Ferrari's version and decided it went too far. So when Ferrari saw Mercedes running a concept that looked close enough to raise questions, Maranello did not see innovation. They saw inconsistency. That is one of the most dangerous words in Formula One. Because the teams do not only want rules, they want the same rules. If Ferrari was told no in winter, and Mercedes was allowed yes in spring, Ferrari was always going to ask why. And that question put the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile in a difficult place. Because the original answer was not that Mercedes had broken the rules. The original answer was more delicate. Mercedes had done it differently. Different geometry. Different implementation. Similar concept, but not identical. And in Formula One, those details can decide everything. A part can look the same to a fan, but be completely different to a technical inspector. One curve, one edge, one mounting point, one measurement, one relationship to the floor or bodywork can change the whole legal picture. That is why this dispute is not simple. It is not a story where Ferrari found an illegal part and the regulator immediately punished Mercedes. It is more complicated. And more dangerous. Because Mercedes had reason to believe its solution was legal. Toto Wolff's position, according to the source material from earlier disputes, has been that Mercedes develops in dialogue with the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, with assurances that what the team did was within the rules. That matters. Because if Mercedes believed the part had been checked, understood, and accepted, then a later clarification feels less like normal governance and more like the ground moving under their feet. Imagine building a house after the inspector approves your plan, then being told later that the staircase has to be removed because the interpretation has changed. Even if the new instruction is valid, the timing hurts. And timing is the knife in this story. Because Austria was not months away. It was right there. The Red Bull Ring was waiting. Ferrari had momentum. McLaren was developing. Mercedes was leading both championships in the source report. Russell and Antonelli needed a clean weekend, not a technical storm. Instead, they got uncertainty. According to the source, reports indicated that teams were instructed to remove serrated diffuser extensions, with the Austrian Grand Prix serving as the possible enforcement deadline. But the enforcement picture was not completely clean. Affected teams, mainly Mercedes, were reportedly pushing back because replacement components were not ready. There were even efforts to postpone the ban until the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. That uncertainty is brutal. Because when a team knows a part is banned in 3 months, it can plan. When a team might have to remove it in days, it has to scramble. And scrambling is the enemy of Formula One performance. A race car is not a toy where one piece comes off and everything else stays the same. The parts talk to each other. The floor talks to the diffuser. The diffuser talks to the rear wing. The rear aero balance talks to the tires. The tires talk to the strategy. And the strategy talks to the driver's chances of surviving the race.